Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the show with no name. I'm Theonie Roussianos, and we are aDAReless this morning. So instead, I've brought somebody a little bit better looking.
aDARe Junior.
So this is my husband, who many of you have heard me give grief because he watches Married at First Sight, and we're trying to slap that out of him.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So we're here today to talk about something a little bit more serious. Now, aDARe will jump in and join us if she can. She is running a little bit late, so we'll forgive her that.
Now.
She's here. She's just out there. No, she's just outside the window.
Oh, sorry.
And anyway, so we're here today. It's okay. Gerry's never been live before, so I'll hold his hand through the process. So we're here today to talk about Rare Disease Day. So the 28th of February, it's the last day of February in any year, so 29th if it's a leap year, is Rare Disease Day, where we basically raise awareness for any rare disease. And there are a number of them out there. It's not just, and then there's rare and there's ultra rare, and there's all sorts of autoimmune diseases and many things out there. But today we're focusing on one for the selfish reason that we're affected by it in my own house. So we thought, what better way to get things started, get things happening, and get people talking than to talk about what's happening in our own house. And we've got some people here to say hello to in a moment, but first I'll introduce our other guest. So this is Gerry, my husband. He was diagnosed with atypical Haemolytic Uraemic Syndrome in January of 2016. It was only days after his 40th birthday, and we'll talk about a little about what that means a little later on. We've also got with us Jeff Schmidt. Now, Jeff is joining us all the way from the US, and he's got a similar story in that his daughter was diagnosed with aHUS when she was only 22. So we'll get him to talk about a little about her story. But Jeff's been doing some amazing things to help the families of people who are diagnosed. So quite often the patient will be cared for by their doctors, etc. But the families, depending on who your doctors are and whatever the kind of support network you've got around you, quite often the families are left feeling stranded, alone. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what to expect next. But Jeff has fixed that. He did something pretty huge, which I'm grateful for. I'll just bring him up. And so welcome Jeff Schmidt to the show. He's just being brought up now. So thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. Now, aDARe's here. She's in her car out there I hope she's got her air conditioning on because it's a scorcher here today. So I'll bring her up in a moment as well. aDARe needs no introduction. She's a woman of many words. And I'll just bring her into the broadcast now as well. So thanks for joining us as well, aDARe. We appreciate you being here. No, I can't see her. Can you see her?
No.
I'll put her down until I can see her, and then I'll bring her back up. But we'll talk about you and what you've done. We'll talk a little bit about your story. So we've got Sandy Barron. So hope to get home in time to see this. Thanks for posting. You can always catch the replay. Now remember, if you're watching, share the broadcast, share it with your friends, invite people to watch. You can always catch the replay if you're not watching live. And if you are catching the replay, thank you for joining us as well. And now, Jeff, have you done live video before?
Have I done what?
A live video, a live broadcast?
No. And I promise you I'm not going to be good. I ramble and I go back and forth with in time with my stories. So
I'm Greek, so I'm really good at cutting people off.
Okay.
Now I've got my husband sitting here next to me in the same room as me because he's never done live video before and he needed me to hold his hand. So you're not a lone ranger here.
Yeah, hold mine too.
So we have, Catherine saying bravo to you, and yes, so thank you for joining us and not saying no when we asked you to jump on. Dorota saying she'll try and jump in. Oh, she's just come back from dialysis and here she is. Thank you for joining us, Dorota. Now, do you know who Dorota is, Jeff?
Yes, she's from Poland, a friend of mine from Poland.
And wow.
She has aHUS too.
Oh, wow. See, and this is the thing. So aHUS is not just rare, it's ultra rare. Globally, as far as we're aware, affects roughly 2 in a million. So you're not quite 1 in a million.
Oh,
Well, there's
And
two of us, so
well,
we got 2 of a million in this
that's
video.
right. And now the community that you've put together, the Facebook group you've put together, do you want to tell us a little about Erica's story and your journey with your family as well?
Okay. Well, Erica, like you said, she was 22. This is in 2011. And she came down with a virus, which wound up triggering her aHUS. But she was misdiagnosed for the first 6 months with TTP. So she did not get the proper treatment. She was on plasmapheresis. She had to do dialysis. And in those 6 months, she got better with the treatment that she was having. And so they stopped the treatment, and not knowing that it's, a chronic lifelong disease, and she relapsed. So back on the treatments again, her kidneys took a big hit. After 6 months, she was finally diagnosed with aHUS and started Soliris. And once this happened, she got better, except her kidneys took a lot longer. It actually took about 9 months after starting Soliris for her kidneys to recover, enough for her to stop dialysis. But that was the greatest thing. She's been able to go back to work. She works full-time as a teacher of 12 to 18-month-old babies, which is pretty awesome. Although it's scary because, you're working with babies and there's lots of germs, and, you think, it's not really the job for her, but she actually does not get sick very often. And when she does, she bounces back quickly, so it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, because the Soliris is, that's another story as well. It is the most expensive drug in the world.
Yes.
And for, different reasons, you've been a crazy amazing advocate for those of us in Australia, getting campaigns kicked off for the drug to be available on the PBS for people like Gerry.
mm.
Can I put you on the spot and ask you? I'll answer for you if you don't answer anyway. So with initial diagnosis,
Yeah.
do you remember what it was like?
Scary, shock. Didn't know what it was. Never heard of it before. Didn't know what to expect.
And now?
Now it's complete turnaround. It's a complete turnaround. I feel so much better. I can do normal things. The last 3 years, just been struggling to do anything, like to work, even to go for a run or walk or do an exercise, even muck around with the kids. But now I actually feel back to normal.
Yeah, and it is, the journey with any illness is there's never a linear path to health. It's a bit like this, a bit like a roller coaster. And a little over a year ago, we almost lost Gerry. So he ended up with an infection. He had a sepsis. It was from the follow-on from, now I can't remember if it was a bladder infection or a UTI. It was a UTI. And ended up with a sepsis, had a seizure, had another seizure when you were back in hospital. You don't remember any of that?
I lost 4 days of my life. I thought I woke up the next morning.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that I was in hospital for three days.
Well, yeah, you
3 days, 4 days or something.
Yes, so 3 or 4 days in ICU, and
Yeah.
you didn't really know what
And
you
I
were.
thought I woke up and it was the next day from when I had my seizure. So, yeah.
Yeah, so he woke up Christmas Day and didn't know it was Christmas. But so it's all, now I just want to go back to when we first connected with you, Jeff. So when Gerry was first diagnosed, things were a little bit scary, and he was in denial a little bit. He took the attitude that, now whether this is how he actually felt inside, only he knows, but what he was saying was, it is what it is. It is what it is, and there's no point worrying about it if I can't do anything about it. However, deep down, I know that's probably not how he actually felt. And I was, you get the information you get from the hospital, but nobody was really giving us too much. And then you start Googling and whatever, and Gerry didn't want to read any of the information. I don't know if Erica was in the same boat when she was first diagnosed. Didn't want to read any of the information given because it was just all too much, and didn't want to know, it was too hard. And now, so we've got Dorota saying, we fight in Poland for a few years. Finally, in 2018, in the social program, just waited 10 years to have a chance for transplantation. Wow. Wow. Good luck with that, Dorota. I'd like to hear a follow-up of your story and see how that all goes. So feel free to connect with us. How's it fine, and what are the signs? Okay, we'll answer that in a moment, because no two people are the same. We've heard stories that there are some people, it can be after infection, it can be all sorts of things. Somebody here in Adelaide was diagnosed after she miscarried a baby. Gerry was clearly not pregnant when he was diagnosed. So, you know, no two people are the same. And it's just, yeah, so when he was first diagnosed, it was all that scary thing. And so I took to Facebook. I did what any sane person does, and I went to Facebook and started searching. And I thought, I wonder if there's anything on aHUS here. And the atypical aHUS family support group came up. Oh, we've just lost Jeff. Hopefully he's just refreshing and he comes back in, or he's here. I'll bring him back in. So the aHUS patient support group came up, and Jeff actually started that group after, you know, he's obviously, I'm just bringing Jeff back in now so he can talk about how he started the group and what happened. But I found Jeff through, just through a simple Facebook search. There's not much out there on aHUS at all. So this group popped up and I requested to join, and it was a crazy, amazing support for me in the beginning when we had no idea. We had no idea what to expect, had no idea really what was going on, how he was diagnosed and all that stuff. All we knew was that he had this thing that we could barely say, let alone know what it was.
And now let me go back a little bit before the group started. You know, when my daughter was first sick, it was a couple of years before we knew of anybody else who had this disease. And then we happened to find online, there was, you know, I guess on Facebook, we saw something from a teenager from Australia, and her name is Bianca Scott. I don't know if you recognize that name, but she was going through, you know, she was.
He's frozen. You might need to just refresh, Jeff. While we're waiting for Jeff to come back, I will, now don't panic, Jeff, if you're there, just refresh your browser and hopefully your internet connection is just frozen. So this is, Adair was just saying this is the first time she's heard a little bit about your perspective on the illness and what it does. And
I've spoken to her before, but she doesn't listen.
Oh, for the benefit of everybody else. No worries, thank you. For the benefit of everybody else, how, just bringing Jeff back up. Hopefully we can hear him. No, I've lost you, Jeff. So we'll just refresh your, you know, using the little, what's that thing called, the refresh thing at the top of your web browser. Just refresh your screen, Jeff, and come back in, and I'll bring you back in, because I do want to hear more about how the group started, why you started it, and a little bit more about this teenager in Australia. So the internet brings everybody together, and it brings us amazing support and people like Jeff. So Dorota said that she was diagnosed 3 years after her first transplant and relapse. So you're back, Jeff.
Sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry.
Keeps dropping me, and I got to restart my. Anyway, so yes, Bianca Scott. She was a teenager who was trying to get access to Soliris, and you know, the Australian government was saying no. You know, I got totally you know, invested in her situation, and you know, and I met Carrie Gray from Australia, who was president of the Australian Association, and you know, that kind of got me, you know, very interested in just others, because we hadn't known anybody prior to that. And then this was in 2014. Later that year, actually the Facebook group that you're talking about, I didn't create it. It was created by Christy Rudd from Texas, and she basically gave it over to me. She said, but because I have a big mouth and I'm always posting, and and so she figures, well, I can at least add people who want to join. And I appreciated that. That's but it's really it's not mine. I joke about that. It's really everybody's. There's no rules in the group other than it's not, we can't have solicitors coming in, things like that. But there's no rules to the group. It's we're just all one big family.
Yeah, it's a respectful place to be, to support, and it supports people who might be having a rough time at that time. They may have had the illness for quite some time and understand a little bit more about it, and they hit a bump in the road.
Right.
Or there are new people coming in who have no idea where they're headed, what's going on, and what's down the road. And to them, when you're newly diagnosed, it feels like you could be dead tomorrow. And it's a place where they can come in and share, ask questions, and get support from people who have been where they are now.
Right. Yeah, it's great. We have I think there's like over 35 countries represented in this group, families with aHUS. And I think, there's like 1,500 people right now that are in the group. So at the end of 2014, I went to a conference in Iowa for aHUS, and I happened to be sitting at a table with Marguerite Eigenraum, who is from Canada, and her husband has aHUS, and I found out that he couldn't get the drug either. And I was blown away, because we had always in the U.S. had heard that people in Canada had better insurance than we did, or better medical coverage.
Yeah, on the whole.
Yeah, so that just opened my eyes up to more of the world. And I also happened to meet a woman from the U.S., Linda Burke, who was part of the foundation, the aHUS Foundation in America, and she has one of the founding members of the aHUS Alliance. And we got involved with each other, as far as advocacy going, and she eventually asked me to join the aHUS Alliance. And now, after meeting Marguerite from Canada and hearing about Bianca Scott, I just went, I was like, I had to find out who else in the world didn't have access to this drug, and how can I help them? I just felt compelled, because we're so lucky here in the U.S. I feel so fortunate for my daughter, and it's a terrible disease, but she gets this drug that keeps her healthy. And now, as part of the Alliance, my role is, Linda likes to call me the first responder. So like when people come looking for help, they're new patients, new families, they kind of go, a lot of them go through me, and I kind of help them find, I help them find the families group that we've talked about, and also try to help them connect with people in their own country. Through the Alliance, my role is to find these people in countries that don't have an association and don't know anybody, connect them. And how I've been doing that is I even if I find one patient, I make a Facebook group for that country, and then I can try to connect to their doctors to have them, send any new patients they have or people they know with aHUS to this group, so they can connect with other people in that country. Because you know what it's like when you feel alone. It's the darkest thing. It's just,
it is.
Yeah.
It can be quite a dark place, and then when you're in that dark place, and then you're not just dealing with a rare kidney disease, then you're dealing with all the other stuff that goes with it. So people can fall into states of depression and all sorts of things.
Right.
And it just impacts on all the other symptoms that you have. Now, everybody in the comments are talking about how incredible you are, how amazing support the group is, and now I do want to talk also about how you helped to, you got a petition going to help the sisters in Sydney.
Yes.
So Rebecca and Sarah Grant, who's now, well, Sarah's now married, but Rebecca and Sarah Grant, so two sisters, as rare as the disease is, two sisters diagnosed with the same illness. One had access to Solaris or eculizumab, the other didn't. And so here in Australia, we have to apply for the, when I say we, our doctors do it, his doctor does it, we don't physically do anything except sit and wait. So doctors have to apply for the drug every 6 months, but there's a whole list of criteria that has to be met. So what's the name of the drug? So the drug is called, the drug name is eculizumab, the brand name is Solaris, and yeah, it's the most expensive drug in the world. Talking in Australian dollars, annually per adult patient, it's around about $500,000 to $600,000 a year. So if it's not on the PBS, you're not having it. Even if you sold your house and you got more than that for it, you know, enough to pay your real estate agents and everybody else, even if you sold your house, you'd have access to the drug for that year, you're homeless, and then what? So it's just not feasible. Without the PBS, you just simply can't have the drug. Nobody can afford, you know, $500,000 a year to spend on one drug.
Yeah, crazy.
So yeah, so Jeff started a petition. It was, so one sister could have it, the other couldn't. Now, so there's a mother, I'm thinking of the mother, because as a carer, from the carer's perspective of somebody who's dealing with the disease, you've got a mother with two daughters with this awful disease. One had access to the drug, now the other didn't. And the reason why she didn't is it's political and it's crazy. So she was on dialysis.
Yes.
And that's pretty much the reason why she couldn't have access to the drug, whereas research had shown that it helps people with dialysis. And I mean, your daughter's a prime example.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, you know. So you know, again, you know, like, you know, these girls are like my daughter's age. So, you know, I feel very parental to them and all the, you know, all the kids. And, you know, when I say kids, that's, of course, younger than me, whatever that is. This is old, but you know, I just find I have to do something. I can't sit back. So I started the petition to get Solaris available for patients who are on dialysis, hoping to get a kidney transplant. Because there's no sense getting a kidney transplant without this drug, because it's just going to attack the new kidney that you get.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, I didn't know what I was expecting, but this petition it caught on fire like within the first few days. Now the grants, they have an amazing following, their family, friends, I mean, and they just shared the daylights out of this petition. And I think, you know, within the first day or so, there was thousands of signatures, and I think that the end of it, I think I had over 47,000 signatures on this, which I was, you know, totally blown away by that. You know, I don't know what I was hoping for, but I was not expecting that.
Well, you weren't going to sit back and do nothing and just watch.
Yeah.
Sit back and watch. Now, Adair's asking, do people need lifetime treatment to keep them in remission? We don't know. Right. It depends on, now in Gerry's case, he's been through a couple of different genetic tests and they haven't been able to find which gene is carrying the mutation. Now there are 3 genes. The H gene is the most common one that they know does go into remission. There's 2 others, and because he doesn't carry them, I can't remember what they are because my head doesn't store everything. There are 3 genes that do go into remission, and then people can come off the drug, but, you know, be closely monitored. Cases like Gerry, it's, you know, the disease is that rare that he could have a whole different Gerry Roussianos strain of the disease. We don't know what caused it. We don't know which gene is carrying the mutation. All that we know is that he's got this illness and the treatment's the same. It doesn't matter which gene's carrying the mutation, the treatment's the same. It's just...
Disease sounds good. Gerry Roussianos disease. Own disease.
And you know about that.
How cool is that?
So now we don't have a lot of time left. We do need to wrap up. I do want to follow up with you, Jeff, though, on the process of the group, because as rare as this disease is, we're talking about less than 2 in a million being affected globally. So as rare as this disease is, the world seems a lot smaller. We're finding more and more people. So Rebecca and Sarah Grant I was talking to, and she said that they have another friend who had been diagnosed with the disease. So these are people they already knew in their own circle, not new friends they've made because they had the illness. It's just, the world's not as big as we think it is.
Right.
And yeah, it's just, and the support that people need. Now, I will selfishly take a little bit of time to plug. We do have, I've got the links above. Now, we've got fundraising events coming up. So we're doing community fundraising for Kidney Transplant and Diabetes Research Australia, who are doing crazy things. So Gerry's nephrologist is part of that research group. In the last couple of years, we've raised almost $85,000 for them, and we're continuing this year. We've got Bogan Bingo coming up on the 6th of April. So if you want more information on that, connect with us. And we have another ball, so our third ball coming up on the 10th of August, which we haven't started promoting yet. But if you want more information on that, send us a message, connect with us, and we'll happily give you any and all information with respect to that. Now, how easily is the disease picked up? I mean, we heard you say at the beginning, Jeff, that Erica was misdiagnosed initially because there are other illnesses that present with similar symptoms, but no two people are the same, so it's not going to be that easy to pick up. Now, when you were first diagnosed, how were you feeling? Like, what were your symptoms? Can you remember? 3 years is a long time, isn't it?
Well, I remember I was in massive pain because of pancreatitis.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with pancreatitis, and then 24 hours later or 2 days later, the specialist came in saying I've got aHUS, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
So yeah. And Shirley, yeah, do read up on it. If you Google, now one thing, now I don't know if your doctor said the same about Erica, Jeff, but when you Google, they say don't Google, you can't trust everything you read on Wikipedia and all that kind of stuff. I remember when we first met Gerry's nephrologist, he came to the hospital that he was admitted to initially, and he asked us what we knew, and I said, well, not much, it's just I Googled. I said, I broke the cardinal rule and I Googled, and he said to me, what he said that day cut like a knife, because he said to me, whatever it is you've read, it's true. So, and we're reading things about mortality rate, we're reading things about how, 60% of patients die within the first 3 years of diagnosis and all that kind of stuff. It's scary. It's not just a rare disease, it's a life-threatening disease. The odds are getting better, but the facts are still there.
I have a great resource for people to go to. It's the aHUS Alliance website. And it's aHUSallianceaction.org. So that's aHUSallianceaction.org. And there is a ton of great information in there. I recommend anybody to go look and learn about it, because you quickly become an expert when you're and join this aHUS or atypical aHUS families group, because the things you learn in there, I mean, because everybody is so willing to share their experiences. People ask questions, hey, I'm having this happening, and then you'll get 20, 50 people responding with what they're going through, and you really don't feel alone anymore, and you learn so much.
Any final words?
Thank
you so much for joining us, Jeff. I know that you had to rush after work, and do all sorts of things to, time zones do crazy things for all of us. So we really appreciate you giving us your time today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope I passed the audition.
You did, and look, first time live video, like I've got two virgins here with me today. Well done.
Good job, Gerry. And nice to meet you, both of you.
All right, don't go anywhere. I'll speak to you again in a moment.
All right.
That's two different perspectives of the same illness, and there are many more different stories. Like I said, no two diagnoses are the same. They all start differently, they all present differently, which is why sometimes misdiagnoses do happen. So I just want to thank everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. We do need to go. We have run a little bit over time. We did come on a little bit earlier than normal today because we've got some other things happening. So I appreciate you all for jumping in. So until next week, same place, 9:30 Australian Central Daylight Savings Time on Thursday morning on mytimetv.live. We will see you there. Bye for now.
See ya.